Hey, what's up guys, it's WiseGuyVito here, and today having a tier list video for you guys, and this one will be on support weapons against the Illuminate faction, and which ones are really good and which ones are not so great. As always, like, share, and subscribe, and I want to thank you guys so much. We reached 1,000 subscribers, and here's to hopefully 9,000 more so we can get to that coveted 10,000 mark. It'll be a big milestone for this channel. 1,000 is already a big milestone. But let's see if we can get to 10,000. So be sure to like and like get it through the algorithm, and also share as well. It really helps me out. And if you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe. So let's get straight into the tier list. So disclaimer real quick on this tier list. So placements are going to be a little bit weird against the Illuminate, because the Illuminate are by far the easiest faction in the game. They just are. And you might be scratching your head on some of these placements, but I'll kind of explain why for these placements. For example, there might be a weapon that is a no-brainer S-tier pick, but I'll kind of explain why it is not an S-tier pick in this video. Just hold your horses, if you will. Like, there'll be timestamps down in the description. You can kind of skip through, and then I kind of give my reasoning on why certain ones are S tier in my opinion and which ones are not S tier. And like I said, we'll kind of explain it in this video. So before we start, let's go over the tiers real quick. S tier is the meta picks. These are weapons that are just very, very good against the Illuminate or most of the Illuminate enemies in the game. A tier is above average. They might have a glaring issue, or they might be good against one particular enemy against the Illuminate faction, and we'll kind of go over those weapons and how I don't think that they're needed, but they're still like an above average pick. B tier is B tier is average. Definitely, kind of like mid performance. It's neither good nor bad. C tier is below average. We'd love to see some buffs to these weapons. And then D tier is like the Dookie tier. This is the bad tier. This is kind of like even against the Illuminate, I don't see a purpose for this weapon at all. And there needs to be some serious reworks to it in order for it to be really good. So without further ado, let's get straight into the tier list. So the AMR, I do think this weapon is S tier in my opinion. It's really good against Overseers, which are going to be kind of like the main enemies that you're going to be dealing with that are going to give you like the biggest trouble. Even walkers, I don't think walkers are that big of a deal. It's mainly just Overseers. And this thing clears Overseers really well, and it clears walkers very well. If you aim for the joints on walkers, it does very, very good. Also, whenever dealing with drones that call in reinforcements, it does very good. Not so good on voteless. Of course, like you want to use your primary and stuff like that on against them. But against kind of like the more elite style enemies, this gun is very, very good. And also against the more heavy armored enemy, because only just one right now, and that's the walker. It's definitely an S tier pick in my opinion. The Airburst Launcher, I do think this is a solid S tier. I don't think it's at the tippy top. I do think this is better on bots and Terminids. On the Illuminate side of things, it doesn't really do good against walkers, but it does very well against Overseers. If there's like a group of at times, there'll be a group of 5 or 6 Overseers at a time. One Airburst rocket will decimate a crowd easily, and that's with a whole bunch of voteless. There are sometimes where I would get 25, 30 kills with just one rocket if there's Overseers with a bunch of voteless next to them. It just does very, very well against just overall just horde clear and crowd control, which is what you're kind of going to be wanting for the Illuminates, believe it or not. And this is why I gave the disclaimer from before, and like I said before, we'll kind of go over why I think there are certain weapons that fall kind of below expectations, or in a lot of people's minds. These are for sure S tiers, maybe not, but we'll kind of go over those. Autocannon, I do think this is an S tier pick as well. Really good against Overseers and really good against walkers and drones. Not necessarily good against voteless per se, but of course, like you're gonna be using your primary more often than none against voteless because voteless are very easy to kill. But against the more elite style enemies, this weapon does fantastic. The machine gun, I'm not gonna lie, this weapon shreds everything. Like I'm talking about voteless and overseers and drones and even walkers. I do think this gun is definitely, in my mind, a very, very good weapon to bring on the Illuminate side of things. I know whenever it comes down to the, like the Tyranids and or the Terminids and the bots, this kind of feels like a mid weapon. And don't get me wrong, it is a mid weapon against those factions, but against the Illuminate, it does everything. It has a good ammo capacity to it. It's got great ammo economy. You don't need to bring a supply pack, but it is definitely a nice thing to have. But there's just so much ammo on the map, on these urban maps, that you can just be fine with not bringing a supply pack. But I do think that the machine gun is definitely an S tier pick. Against walkers, you would aim for the joints and you can take them down no problem. You can disarm the walkers as well by aiming for their horns. It's just an overall just a phenomenal machine gun. It is mean armor pin, and that's why it does really good against the walkers, by the way. But it's just an overall just a fantastic pick. Definitely use it on like the Illuminate at level 10. You're gonna have a lot of fun using this weapon. The Recoilless Rifle. Okay, so this is where it's gonna get kind of hairy. Okay. Against Terminids and against bots, I do think this is S tier, right? Because there's more or less like a ton of like different types of heavily armored targets, right? Against Illuminate, however, there's only one, and you can bring a primary to bring down a walker, or you can bring something that's a little bit more versatile than the Recoilless. The Recoilless, I understand, has the reprogrammable ammo, the programmable ammo, where it kind of gives like a bigger explosion radius for crowd control. In my mind, if you're wanting a rocket launcher that clears hordes of enemies, I would just bring the Airburst Launcher. In my opinion, I think the Airburst Launcher is actually better than the Recoilless whenever it comes down to Illuminate. I know that's wild to say, but as far as like for just massive horde clear, like again, the Illuminate. If you have a nice horde clear weapon, you basically just curb stomp them. That's how easy they are at level 10 difficulties. But in my opinion, for the Recoilless, I think that it's a solid A tier pick. I don't think that it's S tier. And the reason why is because it's not really like a meta pick. It's not like a must pick in my opinion. You can kind of, like I said before, you can run a Deadeye, you can run an Adjudicator, you can even bring like the Plas rifle that's like the sniper version or whatever, like the crappy sniper rifle, and take down walkers with it. Like, as long as you have something that does medium armor penetration, you can take down walkers pretty effectively, and that's including primary weapons. This is why if you gave me the choice between bringing a machine gun or a recoilless rifle, I'm probably going to bring the machine gun, just simply because the machine gun can take out everything. It can take down voteless, it can take down drones, it can take down overseers, and it can take down walkers. It can do everything. The recoilless only does really just one enemy, in my opinion. I mean, like, sure, you could use it against overseers. In my mind, that's just a waste of a rocket, because again, you're for a recoilless rifle and other rocket launchers with kind of within the same family, you want to aim for heavily armored targets. Walkers aren't that big of an issue. They just aren't. Like I said, all it takes is you to bring a medium armor penetrating weapon, you aim for the joints, and they go down. It's that simple. So that's why I'm putting it into the A tier category. The Commando, within the same vein, for low cooldown builds, sure, you can bring this if you want to bring that against the Illuminate. I don't think if you are going to bring a low cooldown build, I would just bring a ton of different crowd control orbitals that are low cooldowns, like the orbital Gatlin, the gas strike. I would even bring the precision strike against walkers and against Illuminate structures and stuff like that. But if you're really having that much that much problems out of walkers, then you might want to take a rocket launcher, like the recoilless or the Commando. But in my mind, it's just it does have an above average performance. It's just not like necessary in my opinion. At level 10 difficulties, it's just not. Arc thrower, not gonna lie, I do think this is S tier. I do find it's a very boring weapon, but it stuns everything, and again, it has amazing crowd control to it. Even though I do find it to be very, very boring, it actually stuns walkers as well, and can stun them and stun them and stun them over and over again, and like keep them in place, which is also very, very nice. So you can actually use the arc thrower to stun, and then swap to your primary, your like your medium weapon, or excuse me, your medium armor pen weapon to take out a joint. So like, it's just a solid pick overall for just crowd control, and also it can take down walkers as well. Quasar Cannon, kind of within the same vein. It's really only good against walkers, in my opinion. It's not necessarily necessary. There we go. It's not necessary in my mind, but it does have above average performance in my opinion. But because you can shoot and walk around with it, you don't have to wait. You don't have to stand in place for a reload like the Recoilless. I do like the Recoilless better, but as far as the Quasar goes, like, it has above average performance in my mind. It's just not. Whenever it comes down to walkers are so easy to take down anyways. It's just not necessary. I'd rather take something that does more crowd control for overseers and voteless. The WASP, not gonna lie, I think that the WASP is a solid A tier pick, probably high A. The problem with it is that whenever it comes down to flying overseers, it's kind of inconsistent. If it was a little bit more consistent on flying overseers, it probably would be yes in my opinion. But since overseers are going to be like your main problem on the Illuminate side of things, you might want to take a WASP. Another good thing about the WASP is that if there are voteless or other enemies around the thing that you're locking on and shooting at, the nice thing about it is that the bomblets, or like the little missiles that it shoots out, if it hits an overseer, it will most likely kill everything else around it. So like other overseers and voteless, which is really nice. So it does have some crowd control capability, but you have to have something big enough for it to lock onto. Against walkers, it's not really that great against walkers in my opinion. But if it was a little bit more consistent, it probably would be like a little bit better. But in my mind, like it just has some consistency issues against flying overseers. They tend to juke out the missiles. Flamethrower, very mid in my opinion. I do think that the Flamethrower needs to have some sort of stagger buff to it. But for the most part, if you want to run just an all flame fire build, you can. It'd be perfectly fine. I would not use this against a walker though, because walkers can one-shot you, so just be mindful of that. But overall, I do find it to be a very good, or like a decent pick. It's not really neither good nor bad. It's just okay. Heavy machine gun, I do think this is very, very good against the Illuminate. Really good against overseers. Really good against mowing down trash mobs as well. Very good against drones, and also very, 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 very good against walkers. Aim for the joints, and you'll take them down in no time. It is very, very ammo hungry. You don't necessarily have to bring a supply pack because, again, there's just so much ammo on these urban maps that you'll be fine. But if you want to bring a supply pack, it wouldn't hurt, so that you definitely don't have to worry about ammo at that point. But it is a solid S tier pick in my opinion. The Railgun, I think it's S tier as well. Really good against overseers and drones. It's also very good against walkers if you aim for the joints. Just make sure that you have your charge ups perfect and don't blow yourself up. But you'll do just fine. Stalwart, not really great against walkers, but it's really good against things such as the voteless and for the voteless and overseers. So that's why I'm putting it in kind of like a low S tier ranking. I really do think that the Stalwart needs to be a primary at this point. I just do. I think that'd be like one of the best buffs that you could give it. But if we're just grading it based on a support level type of deal, it is very good against voteless. It is very good against drones. It is very good against overseers. The one thing that it lacks is definitely the walkers. But what you could do is because it is light armor penetration, and light armor penetrating guns take down shields very quickly. what you could do is that you could take down the Walker shields very quickly with the Stalwart, switch to your medium pin primary, so like a Deadeye or an Adjudicator or something like that, and then take down the Walker that way by aiming for the joints. So in that regard, it does actually fine in that regard. But as far as like a crowd control tool, it does very, very good. I still would take the heavy machine gun or the machine gun in my opinion. Those two are definitely better in my mind, but it's really just a playstyle thing. If you want something with a little bit more versatility and a little bit more movement options and mobility, then take the Stalwart. This is kind of like the laser cannon. Laser cannon's okay. It's kind of like a low A for me. I'm just not a big fan of the laser pointer weapons in the game right now. I just feel like they're just a tiny bit underpowered. But the laser cannon actually feels pretty good against overseers and against walkers and against drones. Again, you want to aim for the joints whenever it comes down to laser cannon. If you want to take out their horns as well, you can do that to disarm the walkers, which is great. But overall, this is more like an elite enemy killing thing. I would not really use this against voteless. I would just basically use your primary. The grenade launcher. I don't really have any luck against this against walkers per se. I don't really like using this against walkers, but against overseers and voteless and drones, this thing decimates pretty good. With a hover pack, I do think that it's an S tier pick, because you can just aim down while you're floating into the air and get massive amounts of kills and amazing ad clear. Without the hover pack, I do think that it's a solid A tier pick. I'm going to put it in A tier for the time being. It's got like an okay ammo economy. You can bring a supply pack with it as well if you absolutely need it, rather than the hover pack. But, if you want to... But with the hover pack, I do think that the grenade launcher is at its best. But I do find it to be very good. You don't need a supply pack, like I said before. You can, like I said before, like the urban maps are just raining with ammo. You'll never really have to worry about it. But if you want to bring a supply pack, you can. The each rocket launcher, like I said before, about it kind of falls within the same line of like the Recoilless and the Commando and the Quasar. Just really good against walkers, and that's basically it. And that's kind of where it falls short, in my opinion, compared to all the other enemies in the game on the Illuminate side. Because again, drones and overseers and voteless are mainly going to be your enemies that you're going to have to be worrying about, especially overseers. But walkers, I think walkers are kind of like a joke in this game right now. They're very easy to kill. You don't have to worry about them too much. Other than just being up close and personal with them, then they one-shot you. But everything else, though, I would just use like a medium armor pin primary to take out walkers. Recon Vehicle, it's a solid pick. I mean, if you wanted to speed run and get things done fast, then just bring the Recon Vehicle. It's just a nice quality of life stratagem. We just throw it down and then just ride around the map and be cool and hang out with your friends and shoot a heavy machine gun. It's just really nice. Just overall, just speed running tool. The Exo Suit Emancipator, I do think that this is A tier in my opinion. I do think this is the best Exo Suit currently in the game right now. Does really good against overseers. Does actually pretty good mobbing as well, for taking out like trash mobs. Does very, very good against walkers as well by aiming for the joints. It's just an overall just a solid Exo Suit to use. The one thing that I will say about these Exo Suits is that I kind of wish they had more health. If they had more health, they probably would be a little bit higher, in my opinion. And also, if there was the ability to reload, they would also be higher. Maybe have like another stratagem that could maybe like repair / give them some more ammo. More of like a kind of like like an identifying role within your team. I think that would actually be kind of cool. But for the most part, I do think that's a solid A tier pick. Patriot Exo Suit. Yeah, it just feels mid. I mean, like the minigun's good. Like, don't get me wrong. Like the minigun feels really, really good to use. I think the rocket suits need to do way more damage than what they're currently doing, and also up the health of these Exo Suits as well. So, if there was 2 buffs that I would like on these, definitely raise the damage of the rockets and give these things a lot more health than what they currently have. The spear. Spear also kind of feels mid to me as well. I don't think these things can actually destroy Illuminate ships from my understanding. Even if you were to hit like the outside of a ship, I don't think these things actually do. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. I'm not actually sure about that. But it's, again, it kind of falls within the realm of like the other rocket launchers. It's really only good against, heavily armored targets, in my opinion, and it doesn't one-shot them. I mean, it could if you hit them in the joint, right? But, having something that locks on and flies and you don't have any agency over it, I do think that it should do enough damage to at least one-shot the body, or basically like the head of a walker. But other than that, though, I just feel like the spear is very mid. With this bat, it doesn't have that great of ammo economy compared to the recoilless, and just like the damage just needs to be up more on the spear, in my opinion. And the Sterilizer. Okay, the Sterilizer I think is a D tier pick, because the only D tier Dookie tier weapon in Helldivers 2 right now against all the factions, in my opinion. The problem with the Sterilizer is that I can bring gas grenades, I can bring the dog breath, I can bring the gas strike, and it basically does the exact same thing but better than the Sterilizer. I don't need a support weapon to do what a gas grenade does, what a helper buddy robot flying thing does, and what an orbital strike does as well. If I want something for crowd control, I'll just bring one of those things. I will not be bringing the Sterilizer. The Sterilizer needs to be completely reworked from the ground up. I think that the gas needs to do corrosive damage to the point where it can actually like degrade the armor on targets. So if something's heavily armored targets, and if you spray them over a period of time, it has to be a reasonable amount of time. It can't be forever, but a reasonable amount of time that can take down, for example, a Charger's AP4 or like heavy armor to now medium armor. I think that actually be kind of cool. But for the time being, what this is that this is basically a stun on trigger pull, and that's it. In my mind, that is not worth it, in my opinion. You will not have to worry about that against the Illuminate, in my opinion, even though crowd control will be one of your main things that you should be looking at. I don't think the Sterilizer is that answer. I do think that the machine gun, the Stalwart, the heavy machine gun, the Airburst Launcher, more or less like these S tier picks are just a way better choice than the actual Sterilizer itself. So this is my tier list. You guys let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I know this is kind of a weird one, and I know that some people are going to say that this is like not a good tier list, okay? I'm telling you right now, okay, like the Illuminate are very easy in this game. Like anybody who is honest with themselves can know that the Illuminate are very easy, and it's going to be mainly Overseers. Overseers are going to be like your number one enemies, and at that point, if you're still strong with walkers, you could bring a rocket launcher, but I just don't think that it's necessary. If you can just bring a medium armor pin primary, or even just a medium armor pin or higher stratagem, so that's able to do crowd control. So, for example, the machine gun and the heavy machine gun, or the railgun, or the arc thrower, those type of weapons. Even the Airburst is just an overall just a better pick. But just those crowd control weapons, then you'll be sitting very pretty, and you will skate by on level 10 difficulties. The Illuminate are my favorite faction in the game, but they are by far the easiest faction to kill or to just run through at level 10 difficulty. So you guys let me know what you think down in the comment section. Am I completely wrong on this tier list? Am I completely wrong in my opinion? Or am I completely right? And you guys think the same way about the Illuminate and think that they need an overall change? Because to be perfectly honest with you, the Illuminate, they kind of suck right now. They're just so easy to just play against. And in my mind, I really don't go to Illuminate planets really anymore, other than just to get footage and every now and then just to, test something out if something changes. But other than that, that's basically it. I don't really like playing on the Illuminate planets because I do find them to be very, very easy to fight compared to the Terminids and the bots. So you guys let me know down in the comment section what you guys think. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.